It's game time.
It's a beautiful day to play West Virginia football, isn't it? You compete on every snap. You have confidence in what you're doing. And you focus on playing West Virginia football for 60 minutes. Now listen to me. They need to feel our program tonight. Make sure they feel what West Virginia football is all about.
Mountaineer Nation, it is officially game week. West Virginia kicking off this season versus Robert Morris this Saturday. It's finally time. Yesterday, I know it was like, almost better than Christmas with week 0, just watching football all day. Felt back to, normal. Life felt kind of simple and things were shaking back into form. And this upcoming week, we are officially back with West Virginia football and then obviously Texas and Ohio State and a ton of other games. And we will be on every single one of those games as always. But today's video, man, let's dive right into what is the first game of the Rich Rod 2.0 era. And, it's tough to sit here and kind of game plan and tell you, well, Robert Morris runs this, they do this, they do that. You kind of said it best, Noah. This is a game where you answer questions that you had from fall camp, right? You answer questions about players, certain things that maybe you were just questionable about. Now, it's not saying that you can just come out here and treat this as like a scrimmage. I mean, no game is ever a pushover. But when it comes to the Jimmies and Joes, this is kind of where you see some, this is the gap, right? Robert Morris, actually, as we were kind of doing some research here, in 2016, no shot at Robert Morris here, but they lost to Alderson Broadus, which we found that pretty funny. Both of us ties to Alderson Broadus, so the school no longer in session. But Noah, I'm done yapping. Let's jump right in, man. Tell me kind of your first takeaway of what you think is going to be a key vocal point, right? Like we kind of have a feeling of how this game is going to go, but what is something that you are going to be watching individually?
I'm going to watch the offensive line gauge because obviously there's a difference between what they're going to play in the Big 12 conference or against other Power 4 foes like Pitt or even a Group of 5 school like you're going to see in Ohio. There's going to be some things, but just watching how they gel. Are they getting to the second level? Are they able to execute what Rich Rod needs, to have that prolific run game just to kind of see or get a feel for how the offense is going to look in this, new regime or, Rich Rod 2.0, as you said, kind of see where we're at offensive line because obviously I think, like you said, Jimmy's for Joe's, we're going to be, better at almost probably every position. West Virginia's going to have the better player. So more, scheme-wise, that's what we're looking at, especially on the offensive line play.
I agree, and I'm going to back it right up and talk about the quarterback situation, right? Because I think for a lot of fans, this is going to be, especially in person, kind of what they are there to watch. And is it Nico coming out in the first half? We would assume so, kind of everything that's been building up in interviews, camp, stuff like that. But we would definitely assume that Henderson is going to get some run maybe as early as that first half. No, I think maybe that he stays true to his word about maybe rotating quarterbacks. I don't necessarily know if it's every drive. Like, I don't know. If it's one on, one off, I feel like that's very hard for your offense in general to get in a rhythm. But maybe it's 2 or 3 possessions, in the first quarter and it leaks into the early second. And here comes Henderson out instead of waiting all the way to the second half. Maybe he completely divides it up, splits it right down the middle and says, Nico, your first half, Henderson, you got the second half. And if he mixes in some of those other guys too, who knows? But I think, that's kind of going to be the biggest takeaway from Robert Morris is what does the quarterback look like, right? What does Nico look like in this system? Running the ball a lot more, I would assume. And then how does that compare on tape to what Henderson is going to look like athleticism wise, right? Because we've kind of talked about before where we think Nico has a lot of grit, has a lot of he just kind of has that Tyler Huff feel. We keep saying Tyler Huff. Fans are probably like, who the hell is Tyler Huff? You're going to learn about Tyler Huff from Jacksonville State last year. He kind of has that fit, right? He's very athletic, but I'm saying when you look at a guy like Henderson, it's like some of his traits kind of jump off the chart. So I just wonder how that looks on film when we kind of go back and watch things, but it'd definitely be interesting with the quarterback and the offensive line play. And then I'll go ahead and touch on this as well. What does the waiver player kind of situation look like? Noah, we know that the whole situation has now kind of revolved. Everybody's eligible, good to go. We actually didn't even end up making a video about it because it kind of it all happened very quickly and got resolved. But does Jimmori Robinson immediately start? I mean, he's been practicing by himself, hasn't been with the team. We know scheme-wise, defensive line, there's obviously a lot less things you need to worry about than maybe a guy in the secondary or really that linebacking position. But, get to the quarterback, contain the run, get sacks, things like that. But how quickly does he get into form, right? You have any worries about him maybe being a slow step behind? We talked about how that could be an issue for those guys where they miss that time.
I don't know about for much as Jimmori. There are other names on that list where I would, have in question, are you in shape enough to play? But, at the defensive end position, it's kind of like, okay, on third down, put your ears back, go get the quarterback, right? And Jimmori, especially in this stage of the season, you could kind of put him in situations where, okay, yes, we just need a pass rush here, sub him in, take him out. I think he's going to start because I think it's as much time as he missed during camp. This is another time, kind of like that prep game to get gelled with the other, the other defensive players. And then when you look kind of on the other side of the ball, the guy I'm kind of most interested to see is Ty Edwards. Not saying that Ty Edwards, obviously, he's a Division I athlete. He's going to be in shape to play football. But the problem is we've heard all through camp, there's a different type of conditioning you have to be, a different type of conditioning for Rich Rod's offense, right? You could be all in shape you want, but that fast pace, up tempo, and obviously we know Ty Edwards isn't going to be an every down back. He's kind of situational. But if there comes a time where he gets hot, Rich Rod's going to want him to be able to keep, getting the rock. So is he 3, 4 on the depth chart? That's kind of going to be interesting to me to see where he falls because of the time he missed for a situation he couldn't really, control.
Along with the other guys that they've added in the RB room, right? Andre Devine, and then the JUCO back, Lockledge, I believe is how you say his last name. How is it divided up behind Jaheim? I think that's another key point we need to see because obviously Jaheim is going to go in there, probably get his $150, 1 or 2 touchdowns, and head on over and rest for Ohio is my guess. But how does it look? I would love to see Ty Edwards, Noah, get anywhere from 8 to 10 carries. I really would because you said on the defensive side of the ball, where Jimmori Robinson kind of has those spots where it's hey, third down, get in, get after the quarterback. It's that simple, right? It could be that simple for Ty Edwards as well. Hey, 3rd and 1, Ty Edwards, let's go. Because we know he's that big bruising back. We've talked about that all spring, all summer, all fall. He's the guy's short yardage situation, also goal line. He kind of has that fit of a goal line back compared to Jaheim White. And that was kind of what we saw with the C.J. Donaldson and Jaheim era, where it was we get down to the goal line. A lot of times it was C.J. Donaldson trucking one in the end zone. But yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the other guys wonder what Weimer will look like, and then the safety on the other side of the ball, Harrington, I believe. But like you said, it's tough to sit here and talk about this game because there's no back and forth, right? We know we have Robert Morris covered in a lot of areas, and we kind of wrote some stuff down. It's Robert Morris, all you really need to know. Their starting quarterback, Zach Tanner, played minimal time last year, 453 yards, 4-2 touchdown to interception ratio, and they're 7-5 last year with their only loss to a kind of mid-major NCAA Utah State 36-14. So like you said, I think it just comes back to finding the answers for what you need, right? This is a game you need to find certain things, where certain things fit leading into Ohio, because we've talked about how Ohio can potentially be a trap game if you're not ready to go from week 1. So not to kind of look ahead and get into that next episode of the preview, but what do you think they need to do as far as execution in this game for you to say, okay, they're fully prepared to go, put on a show versus Ohio too?
I think Gage is when they play, especially offensively and defensively, we're going to see more, how much can Zach Alley really show with his defense whenever you're playing, a little bit of a lesser opponent? That's going to be, a question to me. But especially on the offensive side of the ball, when there's a play to be made, when there's a catch to be made, when there's a guy open, do we hit him in stride? Do you have the ability? We kind of know Jaheim does, but we're gonna, this is gonna be something I'm watching. When you have a 7-yard run, can you create that into a 30, 40-yard run? Jaheim has the ability, athletically, physically, all those things. But those are things that you looked at. Like, do we have playmakers everywhere? And even in that, are we making routine plays and making them, go even better than what they should, right? Because whenever you're playing a lesser opponent, right, you need to be able to show that, okay, I can do this whenever we're playing an opponent as equal level of us, right? I can make the routine play. We can make it. We can get our first down. But whenever you have that, the edge, athletically on your side of the football, you need to be able to make those bigger plays and kind of make us look a little bit flashy. You kind of want to be flashy in this game in the sense that you do have a couple 50, 60-yard gainers. And I think Rich Rod's offense is designed to do that. So I think we need to have a couple of those in this game to kind of show that, okay, we're not just better. We have, actual athletes that can take us to the next level.
And I'm sure all week, both Rich Rod and Zach Alley will be banging the drum of just fundamentals, right? Because those big plays always break off of doing the small things right first, and then it just kind of snowballs into a good effect. So last thing we'll wrap it up with, right? A little score prediction. I'm going to go 31-14. You kind of have a little bit of a higher total for West Virginia. I'll let you get into. I just think, I'll spot Robert Morris 14 points. I think there's probably a few things on defense. Maybe we see a busted coverage late in the game for them to get there's that second touchdown with some guys on the field. You never know. 31-14. Good total for West Virginia because we know they're going to establish the run and that clock will just keep ticking. And that's kind of why I have them only at 31. But overall, pretty dominant win, obviously. A lot of fans will go home happy. But also a lot of, hey, what will this look like in Big 12? So, Noah, what's your score prediction? Kind of final takeaway, my man.
Gage, I have West Virginia winning 41-13. I think Robert Morris scores one touchdown this game. Zach Alley gets pissed off and tells his fellas, like, hey, look, they're not scoring another touchdown. So I think they do get 2 field goals, though, get down in the red zone. Like I said, maybe a busted coverage, some type of play. They get deep into the red zone, kick a field goal. But offensively, Gage, why I have 41 points is I really do see, kind of like you said, Jaheim White coming in 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I think that could happen before the first. I'm not 150 yards, but 2 touchdowns from Jaheim White could happen, within the first 10 minutes of the game, in the sense that Rich Rod's going to play at a high pace, high tempo. Something we weren't really, we obviously watched Jacksonville State last year, but in recency with like Neil Brown and these type of guys, we didn't see that up plays, ready to roll offense. Where I think Rich Rod, you're going to get a lot of plays out of this guy. And if a couple of those go into big hitters, like I said, maybe a play action pass, something, and it hits big, you're looking at 28 points before halftime. And I think that's very possible. Yeah,
it's obviously, if the big plays hit, the score is going to be way higher because we're going to be seeing probably a good bit of 3 and outs on the Robert Morris side just because of the defense and stuff like that. So, yeah, if he has the ball a ton, you could definitely see a high total for us at West Virginia. And that's kind of what you want to see, right, as fans. Like, if you're going to the game and we're playing somebody like this, you just want to see a bunch of points from your home team, have a good time, things like that. But Mountaineer Nation, man, it's here finally. If you're going to the game this week, obviously, you don't even have to say have fun to Mountaineer fans. When you get in the blue lot, things get rocking, drinks start flowing. You know how things get, but obviously enjoy it. And it's back, man. A new era, a lot of excitement. It's week by week, and it finally starts this Saturday. And of course, everybody, make sure you're subscribing to get entered into the giveaway at 500 subscribers. We are slowly but surely gaining subscribers after every video, and we just appreciate every single one of you guys. And obviously leave a like, comment. Like I said, we try our best to get back to almost every single comment that we can to kind of interact and just kind of, keep building and growing this. I don't even want to call it fan base, right? They're not fans, but it's just Mountaineer Nation, man. Everybody has an opinion about things. And obviously we kind of have had some people who disagree with stuff like that. And I go back and read it and I'm like, yeah, like that's a good point. You know what I mean? It's just different things, different ways of looking at it. So we kind of take a little bit of everything from everything. But Mountaineer Nation, we appreciate you guys. Enjoy the game and we'll see you in the next one.